what's up? Shane TV East Watch. I'm coming to you real quick just to pass on a little information. Apparently, Umar Johnson has been called in by the Board of Psychology in Pennsylvania. I guess it has something to do with his credentials, him showing them or not showing them, or whatever the case may be. But I guess we will find out sooner than later. But he did issue a statement. First, we'll talk about it real quick. The Commonwealth of Pennsylvania Department of State, and it says here, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania Bureau of Professional and Occupational Affairs. So apparently, Umar Johnson's credentials are being called into question. As he stated here, and I'll read, I've been ordered to stand trial in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania on January 8, 2018, before the Board of Psychology to be stripped of my school psychology credentials. I guess he meant to put an S there. School psychology credentials as a result of constant complaint from members of my race, pleading to the white man via phone and mail to bring it into my professional career. And you ridiculous ingrates have achieved your goal. Now, Umar Johnson, before you go too far, I hope you have facts and evidence that it was your people who did this shit or people of your race, first of all. Second of all, in my opinion, Shane TV is watching, in my opinion, I do not believe at all for 1 second that is why he's going just to be stripped because people were complaining. I think he's being called in to show what credentials he actually does have to prove that he has the credentials that he says he has, because I've never heard anybody running around talking about how they want to destroy Umar Johnson and get him fired. Everybody's been asking him to show, like, dog, we say you can make videos and talk shit, live streams, all this shit, but you can't take 3 minutes to make a video showing your degrees.
Shame. Shame. Shame.
Shame TV's watch. Your host here. That was from a video I did earlier this week on Brother Umar Johnson, who seems to be going through, some issues right now with a court case, or not necessarily a court case, but a court case which could turn out to be an even more serious court case. The reason why I actually did this video was because, and the title of the video is for the supporters who don't care if Umar has a degree or not. Now, this is what I have to say about that. And I'll read some of the comments from that video. One was from I'm sorry about that, people. I'm going to stop doing that. One was from Jesse Franklin. And Jesse commented and said, the majority of the black community puts each other under the microscope, but won't do the same to whites. That's why Dr. Umar is going through this European-led hunt. The majority of blacks are only interested if whites put it on the news. Now, the last part of his statement, the majority of blacks are only interested if whites put it on the news, I kind of agree. The rest of it, I'm going to have to challenge. Now, we'll start with the beginning. The majority of the black community puts each other under the microscope, but won't do the same to whites. Number one of the reasons the majority of black people should always put black people under the microscope more than they do whites is because my community, I need to know who the fuck you are. We need to know who each other are. We need to know that we can, to a degree, trust one another. So I've learned a long time ago that the truth stands on its own merit. It does not require one's belief to be what it is. Reality is what it is. It does not require your agreement with it or your belief in it for it to be what it is. So putting someone under a microscope, if you are who you say you are,
should be no more difficult than taking a breath. So I don't understand what the big rigmarole is about putting someone under a microscope. Especially when you're an individual who purports to have 6 degrees, which is a abnormally large number as degrees go. Okay? So you cannot disregard that. For if someone walks up to you and says they have 5 and 6 degrees in psychology, like, dude, you should be able to fucking write prescriptions to hospitals, to pharmacies, and etc. with that kind of paperwork behind your doctor title. So that's why the microscope is needed, because there's too many frauds. Too many people who are great speakers, who say great things, Umar Johnson, and then seem to, not saying you are, but seem to, a lot of brothers and sisters seem to fuck it all up with some fraud shit that didn't even have to be included in the fucking beginning for you to be who you are and for you to carry out whatever the fuck your mission statement was. That's why Dr. Umar is going through this European-led hunt. So I disagree that that is why he's going through this European-led hunt. For the reasons that I just stated. Now we'll move on. To counter, hold on. I'll read a message from a brother named Sean Miller. This is similar to a situation I had with the Bar Association where I'm at, where they wanted to know if I am practicing law, because he's always helping people with legal stuff. Same thing in this situation. The psychology board wants to know if he is licensed to practice. That's all. Period. Umar is a con man, and karma came knocking at the door. Now let's dissect that. Umar Johnson stated that he was being called to be stripped of his credentials. Can we please, since we can't see the degrees, can we please see what the actual charges are? Because here we go again with us just going off of what you said. You said you need some money to build a school, yet you don't even have a curriculum up and available for someone to look at who might want to donate to a school to you building a school because they like the curriculum alone. Okay? This is crazy. You're saying these things. You said you have 6 degrees. All we asked is, could we see them? Because you can let us see you talking about having 6 degrees. This doesn't make any sense. You said that you were celibate. Then you get caught with a stripper. Like, this is the shit that I be talking about. All of that extra shit that you was throwing in with the celibacy and I'm the prince and Frederick Douglass and all of this shit that you are now being called on, you could have just came out as motherfucking Umar Johnson, Umar Shoemaker, whatever the fuck. You could have just came out as that and said all of the things that you were saying, and people would be 100% behind you. That's why I don't agree with the dissenters who want to ignore your lie. Listen, man, the only way you can proceed with this is ignoring a blatant fucking lie he's been telling, even currently telling. To say I'll continue to read. Okay. Vernon Jenkins. Malcolm X had no school degrees, but would you deny him his supreme teacher? Again, this is what happens when people want to pretend or willfully ignore that the facts that this man have been stating something that now may not be true do not exist or are insignificant. And the number one thing that I want you guys to notice from this comment is the smoke screening, the confusion, Malcolm had not walked around stating that he had 6 fucking degrees. That is not something that Malcolm X did. If that was something that Malcolm X did, when questioned, that nigga would have to show where he got his motherfucking degrees from.
Shame. Shame. Shame.
So this notion that somebody gets a pass, that somebody can come out and say something for years, and because they saying some good stuff, we should just forget this fact and ignore the fact that, this motherfucker's been telling a blatant ass lie for a long ass time. Like, that's a long time to be fronting, nigga. And if you're fronting like that, what else? Again, what do I always say? What else are you fronting about? Where does this fronting end? Do you front about certain things and not other things, or in other things you're 100% truthful for, but your whole name and career and who you are, you're not? What the fuck? That is a fact that exists that you cannot ignore. And I will not allow anybody to be running their mouth in defense of this nigga about that. If you want to say that Umar says good things, wonderful, because I am in full agreement. I'm going to say it again. I am in full agreement. So now you can't say that I'm hating on him. When I'm telling you, I'm in full agreement with him saying positive things. But we're not talking about that, nigga. We're talking about this man walking around saying that he is a doctor. Not only is he a doctor, he's a special doctor, one who has 6 degrees. Coincidentally, no colleagues have done any videos or spoken out or gave any interviews about the validity of Umar Johnson and his degrees and his practice. Exactly. Continuing on. So niggas, people always want to fucking focus on shit that we're not talking about. Oh my goodness. Hold on. That's one specifically, guys, that I wanted to read. And it's crazy with the whole stripping of the degree and being stripped. And it sounds to me, a lot like he knows that the jig is up. And the fact that he knows that the jig is up, it's time to start preparing for something else. And this one is too long and I'm not going to read all of this, but I'm going to read a part that caught me. I could care less if his credentials are valid or not. None of that in itself validates him as a true leader. Now, I don't need to read anymore, so we're going to base the rest of this fucking video off of that stupid ass shit. I'm sorry, brother. I ain't even say your name because of the way that I'm doing this. I'm not going to disrespect you by even throwing your name out there. Dog, if he was a true leader, then it matters more than anything whether he's being truthful or not. Like, you people aren't making the connection. Meaning, if this motherfucker is caught lying about this shit, where does it end? It's not like he told a lie about his age, or because he didn't want people to think he was too old so he could connect with the whatever the fuck. Even though that's fraudulent and weird, it needs to be identified as such. Nevertheless, you are purporting yourself to be a physician. If you are a physician and you don't have credentials, I still would be inclined to call you a physician if you knew what the fuck you were doing. I've said this more than a billion times, yo. If someone is standing next to me and they know how to do something that I need, meaning know how to do it, I could care less whether some state-sanctioned board of some corporate United States entity has some piece of paper written down somewhere whether they can do it or not. That means absolutely nothing to me if you actually know what you're doing. So Umar Johnson did not, if he read the same books that a student who studies psychology reads, and he's literate, and there's nothing wrong with him being able to basically manifest this information that he's learned in real time, in reality, with other people, with other humans. I'm all for it. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about you lying and saying that you, Shane TV, Eastwatch.
Shame. Shame. Shame.
Please, people, get it together. Please get it together. There's no way in hell that if you're being genuine to this whole narrative, that you can ignore a lie like that. You mean to tell me you're not going to at least say, you know, something has to be mentally wrong with this individual, or this nigga is up to something? Because no matter what, if it comes back that those credentials do not exist, that he really is not a doctor like he says, if that comes back, Umar Johnson has been engaging in what is called deception. Deception is to make me think something that is not true.
Shame. Shame. Shame.
If he has been calling himself Grand Poobah, Master, Guru, Doctor, Prince, all this shit, and it turns out that indeed and in fact, he is not these things.
Shame. Shame. Shame.
That is what is called deception. So you really mean to tell me, brother, you don't care if you have a deceptive ass leader? Isn't that why we're in the position we are now, right now? A bunch of deceptive ass leaders.
Shame. Shame.
Just show the degrees, man. That's all I've been saying. I don't know what you saying other people been saying. I don't know how someone's going to strip you of your credentials merely because people was making phone calls. These people have to come to court and provide factual evidence. witnesses with personal firsthand knowledge to attest to the fact that you've been engaging in some sort of misconduct, some sort of malpractice. A fucking phone call will not do that. And to insult my intelligence and to insult people's intelligence by trying to go off on some fucking rant about niggas fucked you over and this, that, and the third, yo, you are not slick. That's why your ass is on Shame TV, Umar Johnson. You're on Shame TV because, again, Shame TV will make another prediction. Umar Johnson is over as far as pretending to be a clinical psychologist, which we've heard him say those exact words, clinical psychologist, many times. He knows that that shit is over. It's a wrap. So what he is doing now is setting up for his fallback career in which he will become a new addition to the unemployed black male YouTuber.
Shame. Shame. Shame.
Phenomena, a trend that we wish will end. Shame TV Eastwatch, show your degrees, but at this point, I don't give a fuck what you show because I'm sure that shit's going to be fraudulent now. Like, I don't give a fuck what you, because you would have been done that shit. So, fuck all that. Umar Johnson, but I'm going to still give you the benefit of the doubt because I could be wrong. So, the fact that I could be wrong, I'm going to allow that to still exist, that doubt, that benefit of the doubt. But as far as my opinion and what I believe, no, I believe that you're full of shit. I believe that you're full of shit because you're already talking about the outcome of the case and you haven't even gone yet. And if you have the credentials that you have and you know you have not been engaging in malpractice, why would you be so defeatist? And for a person who calls himself the prince of this, the one who was anointed to come fight for the people, you seem to be cowering out pretty fast to these white people by saying they're already going to win. Shame TV Eastwatch, like, comment, share, subscribe.
Shame. Shame. Shame.